So I am here at Deer Park ISD, and Representative Briscoe Kane is going to be here, and Bonnie Wallace. So I don't know what I'm walking into, but this is kind of this office-style building here in Deer Park. It's like not far from where I live. Here we go. Let's see if this is the right door. It was not the right door. What's nice in here? Hey, good to see you.
Removing books because some people disagree with their content does not protect students. It only limits them. I've heard it argued that certain books shouldn't be in schools because they aren't allowed in prisons. I don't find that to be a very good comparison.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm Bonnie Wallace. I want to be clear about one thing. There's not one book in America that's been banned. You and I and anyone else can buy any book they want from Amazon or Walmart.com or a myriad of other places, and it'll be delivered tomorrow. The difference here is that our taxpayer dollars should not be funding pornography to children. So I'm going to read just from one book. You bought about 1,000. Baby, I knew it, he said. I shivered. Knew what? That you look like this, that you had a me body. He cupped one breast greedily. All I could do was cup his action through his boxer briefs and hang on for dear life. When his lips closed around my nipple and he started to suck, the back of my head hit the fridge. He didn't stop sucking as he shoved his hand into my unsexy underwear. We both moaned when his fingers bound me. I knew it, he said. I knew you'd be wet for me. My moan turned into a cry when he parted my with 2 fingers. I need you inside, he said, brushing his beard against my sensitized nibble. When his fingers crushed into me, my knees buckled. He was too much, too skilled, expert love, professional ruiner of a and I didn't know if I could keep up. His flushed in my grip. I clumsily shoved his briefs down, freeing his thick and I grabbed it hard. I need you in bed, he growled. I gripped him harder, stroked faster. He was too busy looking pained to be amused. I couldn't leave him after I got my first good look at his. It was arousing, intimidating, a thick, purple-headed leer in the world of erect. I got a little dizzy when Knox fisted it. I hoped to God he knew how to use it. Few things were more disappointing in this life than a well-endowed man who had no clue how to use his equipment. Knox slid down my body, parting my legs and draping them over his shoulders. When he pressed his base between my legs, my stomach muscles contracted. Oh God! His beard was abrasive between my thighs, and I freaking loved it. His tongue, for being a man of few words, his tongue was pure magic. He paired long, greedy strokes with short, shallow thrusts. In a matter of seconds, I was one thing, I said, make it count, then you better hang the on. It was a good thing I did, and he told me, because a second or two after my hands wrapped around the brass headboard, he did something magical with his tongue at the same time that he crooked his fingers inside me, and my entire body imploded. I was in the middle of the best of my life. So I have 13 seconds left. Everyone's talking on the other side about educational value. Is there anything educational? Have I read you? Take the books off the shelf. Our kids are in crisis mode.
My name is Richard Vega, community pastor at Community Transformation Church. We have a church right here off of Fairmont. We have a lot of families at Deer Park, and I won't go into the other hobbies that I have, but I was a little disheartened when I saw the letter that State Representative Briscoe Kane wrote, because actually I sat down with senior leadership 2 years ago. I brought in thousands of books that needed to be removed in this district, and brought in the laws, sat down with the old superintendent. And I really honestly thought that things were getting easy. And it's a little sad to know that this district didn't take it serious, because now then we have to take time away from our families to come up here and be able to say, hey, listen, this violates the law. In fact, I have a book in my hand. I don't want to read it because then I get all emotional, but it actually has 289 violations of just your profanity policy that I'm sure that you guys have within your district. Not to mention the state laws that have already been passed. The reality of it is that this district has purchased tens of thousands of books. We have audited them. I have sat down with this district over 2 years ago, me and Pastor Dick Kappas, of concerns, and a closed meeting. So it wouldn't have to be on public open forum. But now we're to the point that where we have to be able to address these issues to the public. So what I'm asking you to do is be able to hear us, investigate it, and then putting things into place to stop allowing, number one, taxpayer dollars being funded to be able to buy this trash. If parents want it in their home to design purpose, let them do it, but not on our tax dollars. This was a great night. We saw a lot of great kids receive a lot of beautiful awards and have bright futures. To be able to have access to this trash is for adults. And one of them did tell us that it's not allowed in prison. In fact, our team was the one that submitted everything to the prisons, the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. And these books right here, the one that I have that is in your school district, will not be allowed for an adult in TDC, but yet it's in your library. We got to do better than that, guys. Come on. We got to do better than that. And I know some of you are probably just not hearing about it for the first time. I understand that. But we have to be able to put walls up to be able to block some of this trash. So we're relying on you guys. Thank you.
I moved here recently, about a year and a half ago, to Deer Park, and I grew up in Pasadena. But hearing the stuff that I found out was in the schools, I just thought it was mind-boggling. I'm a product of home education, so I didn't actually participate in this sort of thing. But when I hear about it, that this stuff is going on in the education system, it just makes me think, well, people should go to public school. And not only that, but Deer Park's taxes are crazy high. And then when you hear about something like this, it's just mind-boggling. It's outraging. Yes. And y'all seem like good folks, like y'all don't seem like y'all want this sort of stuff in there. And so I just gotta ask, why is it still in there? It's a good question. I hope it sticks on your minds. And everybody else here should be thinking also, is this edifying? Does this lift up? Is this something that encourages people or encourages them to make good decisions? I can't see how it has any redeeming value. And I think a lot of people here have the same thoughts. And if you try, it's a dark rabbit hole that you find leads to actually that it destroys people. And more scientific evidence is coming out about erotic stuff, pornography in general, and that's what this is. It's just erotica. It's erotica in schools, and you don't let kids smoke cigarettes, so why are you going to let them have access to this? I mean, there's age verifications for pornography, and this is just stimulation of the mind in that area. So that's really all I'm thinking is on my mind. You know, I got a minute and a half, but I'm not going to use it. I just want y'all to think about that. I'm obviously just as concerned about the next generation as the rest of us. I have a vested interest, same as you do. So, thank you for your time.
Good evening, President Cole, members of Deer Park ISD Board of Trustees. For nearly a decade, I've represented the school district in our community, the Texas House of Representatives. I'm a taxpayer here in the ISD, as well as a graduate of Deer Park High School. Last session, the Texas legislature passed Senate Bill 13 for one clear reason: to protect our school children from nasty, explicit, pornographic books, harmful content, things that have no business being in our library. As I mentioned in my letter to the board last week, I'm here because several constituents have reached out to me, was informed that they thought they'd informed the board and asked for board removal, yet no action was taken. Despite new laws, despite previous requests to bring this matter to the board's attention, there's several books still in libraries that clearly violate Texas law. Studies show that the exposure of children to sexual content nearly doubles the likelihood that a child will have problematic sexual behaviors. And that even doubles, again, when that content is sexually violent. A lot of the content has those things. The Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, prohibits the broadcast of indecent and filthy material during hours of 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. That's because children are very likely to see it. The content that cannot be broadcast on television is here in our libraries. Due to time constraints, I'm only going to talk about a few of those books. I don't want to, go into profanity here in person, but one of those books is Living Dead Girl by Elizabeth Scott. It's in two of our libraries. It graphically depicts the rape, torture, and sadistic sexual abuse of a kidnapped child. This book is so explicit. It's one of those they've mentioned as banned from being in our prisons. It's here in the libraries. Suicide Notes from Beautiful Girls by Lynn Weingarten. It's available to children at the North Campus. It's a novel that includes graphic depictions of sexual assault, drugging, revenge murder, along with multiple explicit sex scenes, graphic violence, heavy drug and alcohol use, same-sex conduct, the sharing of nude pics, and abortion. Lastly, Here We Are by Kelly Jensen. It's located at the North and South Campus libraries. This profanity-laced book mocks traditional values and promotes fetishes, transgender ideology, and sexually explicit exploration. Not only is this book's content vulgar and indecent, the book is full of QR codes that allow students to then go to certain websites. Those websites, again, are vulgar and indecent. They promote sex toys, how to hire sex workers, BDSM, and pornography. It's common sense. Those books have no place being in our libraries.
Amen.
You should also note, though, the passage last session, Senate Bill 412, the old educational purpose exception for the obscenity statute, our penal code, was repealed. This means now that school employees can no longer claim that providing explicit sexual material to minors is acceptable simply because it's labeled literature. There's not criminal liability. I respectfully urge you to immediately remove these books and to direct a full review of all of our library materials. Parents and taxpayers deserve better. In fact, they deserve an apology. Our children's innocence and safety must come first. Thank you.
President Shable, I've been with a lot of school boards. You've been as courteous as any I've ever spent time with. Thank you for that. I thank all of you, Ward, because I know you serve because you love kids. I speak to you as a minister of 56 years, of which most of it served right here in Houston. The city where I graduated from, in this city I graduated from a public school. I've addressed over 20,000 pastors face to face across America, and I have yet to find one who believed that having kids exposed to explicitly sexual material was a good thing, especially books, as you've heard already. I brought with me a copy of The Living Dead, and these are just the pages. And I mean, and there are dozens of them, of things that are just beyond imagination. My generation was never conceived of today, but in America we can talk about such things. A few of the books in your libraries, The Living Dead Book, The Love and Bones, Different Seasons, they're just all, for all of them, forbidden in Texas prisons. Jesus declared that all authority had been given to him, and he warned that if anyone causes a child to stumble, it'd be better for them to have a millstone put around their neck and be cast in the sea. There's a millstone awaiting all of those of you who use your delegated authority, granted by the Lord God, to ignore federal and state law by keeping these materials in our school libraries. Finally, I want you to understand, I work with a lot of pastors, thousands of them. We have a large organization. We have a legal team. If you continue to refuse to remove these sexually objectionable books from the DIPISD, I will use my influence to see that you're held accountable. Please do the right thing.
Douglas Harris, lead pastor of the Baptist Church here in Deer Park. Dr. Ray, members of the board, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to us tonight. As Pastor Richard Beatty has already stated, he's addressed this board more than 2 years ago on this issue of perverse books in Deer Park ISD. I also addressed this board in September by way of 2 emails on this issue with the desire that we would not have to come to this moment here tonight. My first email was responded to favorably, as he did remove some of the books that I gave you on the list. But in that email, I was told that there are at least 9 other books that I decided that met the criteria for Deer Park. I responded to that, I sent some excerpts of those books, and I asked each of you as board members to please read those excerpts and tell me how they could possibly meet our standards. None of you responded, which is quite irritating as a member of this community. These books are not appropriate for our children. I want to remind you tonight of some simple truths. You are trustees. By definition, a trustee is someone who stewards the resources of another. There's not anything that you manage that belongs to you. Our taxpayer dollars, they're our dollars, and you manage them. And as a conservative Christian in this community, I have an issue with my tax dollars buying filth of perversion, of explicit content, and being accessible to our children. I have a problem with that. You're not being a good steward. But more importantly than that, you are stewards of our children. Our children are our most valuable resource. And you have a responsibility as board members to do everything you can to ensure their well-being and their safety and their protection. And I know we live in a diverse community with diverse opinions. And families have some liberty to do as they wish in their home. But when it comes to the content of these books, there's nothing educational, historical, or helpful about them. They are moral perversion that corrupts the minds of children.
Amen.
That will create even greater problems than we already have in our community and in our society. And so I'm asking this board to review your policy. Because if any of these books, and you've already heard some of them read, if they don't violate our standards as a district, then there's something wrong with the policy that we have. And it needs to be reevaluated, and you have the authority and the responsibility to do something about it. And I am asking you and holding you accountable to see that it gets done. Thank you.
Do you see them simply on the online digital list, or have you verified that they're on our library shelf? Personally.
We aren't allowed to go into the library, but yes, they're on your online catalog, which law requires to be updated. So, and they're in multiple locations, not just one. I brought copies of the one I was reading, but I forgot to give it to y'all if y'all want them. I mean, it's just one book of thousands. My bad book list of books just like this has over 2,000 books on it. I'll gladly give it to you. Y'all can search it yourselves. The children should not be exposed to this.
I'm just asking to be precise. I know for a fact several of the books listed are not on our shelves and have been removed.
So you haven't updated your catalog
Several,
maybe?
and that's something we can actually work on.
Yeah,
But,
that would be good.
several are also under review, which means they have been removed
That's
from the
right.
shelf while they're being reviewed under this,
But they're still showing up in your catalog as of this morning?
And they don't get updated until they're actually finally removed. And just as a side note, our primary librarian who does that has been out donating a kitty. So she has not updated the list completely yet.
Yes.
So I'm saying a lot of your information is probably not up to date. And I hope you realize that our intention obviously is not to have something that shouldn't be. There are guidelines we're giving as a school district that they have to go through and meet in order to be able to be removed and called indecent.
So how do they get on the shelf to begin with? I
Well, a
mean,
lot of them were older books.
well, not this one that I read to you. It's only 2 years old.
Okay. Well, I know that the current standards that we have, it's just completely different than what it used to be years ago. And so when they go through and buy new books, it's under a completely different system of review. And so I'm saying that as in, I hope that you realize that it's not the same as it used to be.
Well, what I
We've
realized,
got thousands and thousands of books in our libraries, obviously, so it's going to take a while to go through and make sure that we are up to the current standards.
Excuse me, I have a child in DPISD. Is there a way for parents to prevent books
Yes.
being checking out?
That's the second thing that you probably need to understand as parents, and your children are enrolled in our district. You have the opportunity to decide what your children can check out No, they cannot, they can be restricted if you want them to be.
But do you have to know the name of the book?
Yes, but do I need to know, is there a list of these books that are explicit, that are given to the parents? Or or the parents can have access like that?
I don't know that specifically, we can get you that answer.
Yes, that would be nice, because you're the board, you're supposed to inform
Basically,
parents of
parents
this.
have the complete control over what their children can and cannot take out of the environment. I do know that for a fact.
Who decided to purchase these books?
I have no idea. You're talking about.
That's a good question.
This, and that.
I can send you my
other
data.
questions we can look into. I'm talking
You have
about
1,000.
some of the books that you guys have presented tonight, I know are not on the book, on our shelf.
I would recommend firing whoever does.
Here, here.
May I ask a question?
Question asked, clarified. Thank you very much for that. We do appreciate that. Again, we really got to the point that we take all this feedback in, and certainly are taking your comments seriously. So we need to move on to the next part of our agenda, but just to kind of wrap this up. Yes, sir.
Yes, Lon. So we can leave here understanding that it is the desire of the board to get books like this out of the library, and you are going to work on that.
So exactly. So first of all, there's a couple comments made about law, which everybody hopefully will understand, as Deer Park ISD takes the Texas state law very seriously. We will follow every process given to us as a state mandate and confirm that process, which is a little bit about what Trustee Lowe's discussed, right? There's a process involved in how we go through our books, how we approve those books, how a parent may object to those books. Again, if you're a parent in our district, you have the ability to petition and come to us and say they'd like these books removed. At that point in time, we take them off the shelf, we go through a review process. As a parent in the district, you have the opportunity to go in and flag that my student may not access these books or this material. So there's a ton of work that goes behind the scenes. Right? And obviously, it's an important conversation. You had multiple conversations tonight, different perspectives, people weighing on different sides of each bench, right? So ultimately, what we try to do in Deer Park ISD, we follow the law, first and foremost, right? The second thing we do is we try to take our community values and we try to implement them the best way we possibly can. And that's what this board will try to continue to do going forward. So again, I led with this, I will close with this as we move on to the next part of our agenda item, which is we sincerely appreciate all of the comments that were passed on tonight, right? We do take that in as a part of the things that we have control over, that we have the ability to actually act on. It's important to have an engaged district. It's important to have community members that care about our students. You wouldn't be here, hopefully, if you didn't care about our students. We wouldn't serve if we didn't care about our students. We wouldn't be a trustee if we didn't care about how your tax dollars are being spent to actually impact student outcomes. That guides every decision we make up here. Again, thank you for your time. We're going to move on, if it's okay, board, to the next agenda item. There's information that the administration put outside.
I was kind of troubled that no one spoke up and said, you know, we need to do something about this. Like, they didn't seem like they were upset that this content ever, one, been purchased by taxpayer dollars, that it was ever in the libraries, much less it need to be removed.
Yeah, absolutely. There needs to be more outrage for it. You know, it's crazy. It boggles the mind, some of the stuff that they're reading out loud.
Yeah, so that was kind of my concern. It was noticeable they didn't seem to be bothered by it, as much as you would hope they would be.
Yeah, and even a little combative at the end there. Not it really just about if the information was up to date, but even still, they have to imagine that the concern will be real, you know, and have understanding for that, and just a similar outrage for not wanting it to be in there. So, are there any outside interests? Do you think that are influencing the board or getting these books in the schools? Where do you think they're coming from, and who's buying them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So over the last few years, people have become more and more aware of things like the Texas Association of School Boards or kind of these agencies that are governmental. But there is a library association that people should be concerned with. And the librarian, from a member of that association, these are a bunch of woke teachers who have an agenda to sneak these things into our schools. And it's hard not to think that's exactly what this is from. It is an agenda being driven by librarians, by school professionals here in Deer Park and abroad, throughout the state, that want to get this stuff in, and that's how it's done.
What did you think about some of the opposition that was going on, the arguments that they were making in favor for having these books in here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've heard those same tired arguments in the past. They try and make it seem like these are things that we're trying to ban to kill a mockingbird or something. Of course, it's not. So that's why they don't discuss the explicit sexual nature of these books. Because they realized they were arguing on our side.
Yeah, I like what Bonnie says that it's not burning, it's not banning, it's boundaries. So I think that's good.
That's right. Again, No one says that they've banned a movie or banned a TV program for requiring somebody to, show an ID before you see it. That's a similar issue here. We're just saying that tax dollars should never, ever be spent on these books, much less using tax dollars to spend these books to be in front of children. It's that easy. You can do with your private money or buy your kid this book at home if you want. I hope you don't do that for your children.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. Let's see. What should people do to make the biggest impact?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest ways to make that splash is to, of course, speak up. One, show up to the school board meetings, but, don't be shy. It often might seem like in the room that the left, the raucous liberals, the activists are a little louder, and sometimes they may show up in numbers, frankly, because they have nothing better to do with their time. But we need concerned parents to service, Christians, pastors, to show up to their school board and talk about this and demand real change.
Yeah, absolutely. These people should not be more zealous than Christians and parents whose kids are in these schools. So I totally agree. Thank you so much for answering these questions. I really appreciate it. Briscoe Kane, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for taking my questions. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you're running for?
Yeah, my name is Richard Vega. I'm running for Harris County Commissioner, Precinct 2.
Nice. And what were we talking about this evening at this ISD school board hearing?
Yeah, pornography books in the library. I actually been here. I actually sat with the board and with the old superintendent over 2 years ago and brought them in the laws of Texas, brought them in thousands of books to be removed in this ISD. And it's sad that I actually had to come to a public forum to address the whole entire board for the community to see.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And they said that they were in the process of removing them. You said this was 2 years ago, so isn't that enough time for the gears of government to get moving on something like this?
100%. They dragged their feet, and now that the additional laws got passed in this last session, thank God for our wonderful legislators that continue to fight the good fight. Now their hands are being forced. And it doesn't seem like they want to move too quickly, but I think they're going to move a lot quicker because they know that we're actually starting to show up in the public forum. And we're going to put it out on social media and then get some movement on that. And they're going to get tired of all that and start getting stuff moved off.
Yeah, amen. I hope that it doesn't have to be from pressure that they would just do the right thing, because this stuff is absolutely vile. It's filth that they're reading here. Is there anything that you'd like to say, or like even with elections coming up and information for you and your campaign?
Yeah, go out and look up at www.richardvega.us. That's richardvega.us. I'm running for Harris County Commissioner, Precinct 2. Always out here in the community, defending my community. I love my community. Go out and see me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate the questions.
God
bless you too.
Thank you.
Yeah.